Okay, this is a very quick tutorial based on the balloon lesson that we did in class for students who are not here. Essentially, what we're going to be doing is just looking at some of the things that Photoshop can do. So the first thing we want to do is get this image into Photoshop. Photoshop appears here on your dock. If you don't see it here, you want to go over here to your Launchpad, and then you can find it by scrolling through your available software, and there's Photoshop. Okay, I already got mine open. Couple ways to get Photoshop or get a file into Photoshop. You can either save the file on your desktop. Okay, so if I right click this and open the image in a new tab, there's my new tab, full size. I'm going to go and save this image on my desktop by going File, Save Image As. It's going to ask me what I want to do. I'll put it on my desktop. Okay, I'm going to name it whatever, balloon, save. There we go. That's now saved on my desktop or wherever I want to save it. And then from Photoshop, you can open this up by going Open. Go to your desktop, there it is, find balloon and hit open. That'll open the file. Okay, Command W to close it. The other way you can do it is if you drag this takes a little bit of timing to get right, but I'm going to take this and drag this from here right onto this Photoshop document, and it's going to drop it into Photoshop for me. Okay, I've got two of them running. Let me close the older one. I don't need that. Okay, so here is the document, a couple of navigation things. Command on your keyboard plus at the same time. So Command and plus is going to zoom you in. Command minus is going to zoom you out. Okay, you can hit Z on your keyboard to get this zoom tool, magnifying tool. Okay, and if you drag right and left, it's going to zoom you in around. Okay, Command 0 will put you to fit your screen. Okay, so notice it's putting me at 168%, which zooms me in just enough to fit my screen. Okay, the other thing we're going to do is we're always going to reset our essentials by clicking up here, okay, essentials, and then we're going to go again, reset essentials. Okay, that just puts all of our tools back in the same place so that when you're working with something, it looks the same as the video. All right, so we're ready to start here. The thing that we learned in class for this lesson was something called adjustment layers, okay? And so here on your layers palette, okay, this is called a palette, and you can see that it's basically like a little tool. Okay, I'm gonna drag it over here. Okay, so oops, like that. We've got a layer. That's our background layer. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go down here at the bottom, okay, and you're gonna see this little icon, okay, a little black and white circle. Okay, and I click on this and it's gonna give me some options. Okay, these here are ways that I can modify the layer that's going to be underneath this adjustment layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on to try a couple of these. We'll click on, let's say, start with brightness and contrast. Okay, and what happens is it creates a layer above my photo. Okay, and it also puts here in my properties the two things that it's talking about, brightness and contrast. And there is a slider here, so I can drag my brightness up or down. Okay, set it back to 0 if I want it back to default, and contrast up or down depending on what I want. Okay, now these can work in conjunction if you're trying to lighten or darken an image. Okay, and I can have that set to whatever I want, and then from there I can also bring my opacity down, which changes how strong this layer, this brightness adjustment layer, how strongly it affects the layer below. Okay, so if we got 100%, it's 100% strength. If I drop it down to say 10%, okay, then it's 10% strength. Okay, all right, drop that back up there. If I decide I don't like this, I can just take the whole layer and drag it down to the bin, okay, and it sets it back. It gets rid of the adjustment layer. Okay, this is called non-destructive editing, and that's because it didn't change the image in any way. Anything that happens above it. So if I crank my brightness and I decide later I don't like that, I can just delete this here and the original stays intact. Okay, some other adjustment layers. Okay, we looked at color balance. Okay, so here again, the controls show up here in the properties, and I can tint this, okay, in a way if I found that my colors were shifted perhaps, okay, I can adjust those, or if I'm trying to get a certain mood, right, I can adjust those colors as well. Okay, and again, this is all happening on an adjustment layer above my image, so my image is not affected. Drag it away, delete it. Okay, back to my original. I can also do things like, say I want to have levels is a histogram. It basically is like, what is my blacks, what is my darks. Okay, so if I want to maybe adjust my layers, and I find like that's what I want here, I can also then add another adjustment layer above it. Say I want a hue saturation, and I'm going to make this reddish. Okay, and drop this down here. Okay, so I'm going to go to sort of reddish, and I'm going to drop this down in color, maybe here. Okay, that's not reddish. We can't get rid of from this because of the colors, because of the levels. Anyways, what the point is, I've got two things happening here. Okay, I've got two different adjustment layers, and you can have more if you wanted to. Okay, I can add say a black and white to this. Okay, and then I can turn this down to like 20%. Okay, which means it's only partially sucking up some of that color. Okay, I can see by turning on and off this visibility which ones I want to turn up or down. So say I want the levels that's maybe too strong. I'm gonna click on that level, drag that down to say 45%, turn this one on, and maybe that's a little strong. I'm gonna click on this layer, drag that down maybe to here. Okay, turn on my black and white layer. That's maybe a bit strong too. I can turn that down to 5%. Okay, and so here I have control over how these interact. Okay, or I can just dump them all. Okay, drag them away. And we're back to default. Let's add one more. Okay, we're gonna add a black and white adjustment layer. It's gonna turn the whole thing black and white. Here's our controls. In this one in particular, we have a number of different filters that we can run this through, okay? And so it gives you a different outcome. And depending on what it is you're going for, okay, you may, like in this instance, we lose a lot of the contrast. Here, it gets a little too dark, right? So there's lots of these sort of options, okay? We're gonna go just for now with the default black and white. And what we're gonna talk about right now is something called a mask. So you'll see there are two icons. All of the adjustment layers have two icons. One is this white box, and the other is the actual adjustment. Okay, the adjustment is going black and white. Okay, let me add another one just to show you. When I went to, let's say, brightness contrast, okay, it gives me my brightness and contrast, but it also gives me this white box. Okay, and what is that white box? Well, what's happening there is this is a small version of my artboard. Make this bigger so we can see it. Okay, so this is a smaller version of the artboard that I'm working with. And right now, white is everywhere. And what that means is it's applying this black and white adjustment layer to the entire page. Okay, but if I do this, if I just go to my brush tool, which is B on my keyboard, brush, and I'm going to make a large brush, okay, I'm going to make the size, let's say 100. Okay, and for now, I'm going to keep this hardness slider up at 100. This means how hard are the edges? Okay, is it 100% hard, or is it like soft 0% hard, meaning soft edges like you know, a spray can, okay, or hard edges like a marker, okay, like a Sharpie, okay, and depending what you want. For now, we're going to go with 100. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw here in black. Okay, so I'm going to hit D on my keyboard, which is going to go to default colors, which are white and black. Okay, I can also just click this, default colors. And then I'm going to hit X on my keyboard, which will flip them. Okay, X flips your background and your foreground colors. So I want my foreground color to be black. And when I draw on this, notice that I'm not selecting this, I'm selecting this mask. When I draw on this mask, it's going to draw in black. So I'm going to draw a line right across here. Now you can see in two places. One, there's this black line that I drew showing me that I've drawn on my white background in black. And you can see as I do that, it stops allowing that black and white filter to affect the entire page, right? This white is where the black and white filter is having effect. This black is having no effect. So when I turn this off, you'll see the colors are showing through in this area because the black and white filter is not having an effect on the black area. It's only having an effect on the white area. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to go and fill, while this is selected, I'm going to go edit, and I'm going to fill it with white again, okay, from white. I say okay. It fills this back in with white, and you can see now it affects the whole thing. If I went edit, fill with black, it's going to fill this whole thing in with black. It's not affecting my image. It's filling in this mask. Black means that it's hiding the effects of this thing. White means it's showing the effects. So if I then change this, I want to draw on this with white. As soon as I start drawing, you can see it's affecting, okay? This area is where white is showing. So white shows the black and white filter and black hides the black and white filter. Okay, this is the black and white filter that we have. And see if I change these, I make this darker, it's only affecting the point where this is showing. It's not doing anything to the outside of the black because it's not affecting this area. Okay, If I make this, whatever, you can see it's making changes only in that one area. Okay, now it's actually making changes everywhere, except I can't see them because they're hidden. So if I click back on this, then again, I draw in white, you can see I can continue to show, or I flip them to black, hide the areas that I want. Okay, so let's fill this back in with white again. We're going to go edit, we're going to go fill, we're going to fill it in with white right there. Okay, now everything is hidden. Sorry, I actually want that to be back. Edit, fill. No, I want that to be right. That's correct. That's what I want. I'm going to change this guy here back to the default. Okay, and then I'm going to draw on this mask in black over the part that I want to keep the color. And there, now we've shown through the part. Okay, if I want to be a little more creative and I want to add more, I can bring the color of this girl back in. So I'm going to go Command plus and zoom in. I'm going to make my brush a little smaller. Okay, there's a slider here. Okay, and I'm going to just draw in kind of the color. Okay, now I can actually use it. There's a keyboard shortcut. It's the square brackets on your keyboard. So if I hit the left key square bracket or the right square bracket, okay, it makes them smaller. Okay, and I can get right in Command plus. And I'm going to hold space bar to get this hand and move it up. Or you can get it from here. There's a hand tool somewhere. There, H on your keyboard. Okay, gives you a hand. Okay, or I can do that. Okay, or brush B. Okay, so I'm drawing. I'm going to bring in all this color here carefully as I can. Okay, and I'm doing this a little rushed because it's a tutorial. Square bracket, make it bigger, fill in the color, follow some of these contours. Okay, say I went a little too far. Oops, I went too far there. I don't want that. I'm going to go back over to white. Okay, and I'm going to get rid of the stuff that I don't want to be colored. Okay, so say I want it like that. I'm happy with that arm. I'm just going to do this one here. That's going to be another thing you can use. If I click here, and hold shift, it'll draw a line between the last place I clicked and the next place I clicked. So I click here, hold shift, it'll follow that straight line. Okay. Space bar. Put this in all here. Okay, I went a little too far with this. I'm not sure what is this. So maybe I'll bring this color in as well. Okay, and then I'm going to get in here. Just going to add in this detail. Okay, and I could get in closer with the zoom tool, but I'm just going to do kind of a half decent job here. X to switch my colors. X to switch my colors again. There we go, that'll do. Command 1, and I'm finished. Okay, if you want to save this, you're going to go File, Save As, and you're going to choose JPEG from the dropdown. No, you're not. You're going to go File, Save a Copy, and choose JPEG from the dropdown here, and save it wherever you want. Desktop, I call it balloon dash black and white. Enter. There you go. Okay, we're good to go. Hope that makes sense.